What's up, everybody? Today, as you guys can see right here, and of course, he's still here hanging out, still enjoys Spanish class thus far. Hopefully he'll stick around. But anyways, today we're going to look at regular present tense AR verbs. And there's more than AR verbs in Spanish. There's actually ER verbs and IR verbs as well as AR verbs. And that's really talking about the ending of the verb. And so here we have a whole list of AR verbs because that's what we're going to work on today. And so, but also before we really get into it, I want to bring your attention to this. It says the indicative or indicative. And really we're looking at the regular present indicative. And the reason I say that is because there's also the present subjunctive, which is something we'll get to later on in the semester. But as far as today, we're looking at regular present indicative tense of AR verbs. And so I'll probably just say present tense, just for short, but just know that what we're dealing with today is the present indicative, not the present subjunctive, which is something different. And so anyways, this is actually our first introduction to sort of formally conjugating verbs. And so we want to start it off with AR. As I've said, there's ER and IR verbs as well. Again, like I said, this is a whole list of AR verbs, but just for fun, comer, for example, you can see here is an ER verb, that means to eat. And then vivir is an IR verb, which means to live. So these are just, two other examples of verb types in Spanish. But today we're going to focus, as you can see up here, on AR verbs. So let's go ahead and get into it. What I want to look at to start is sort of the how-to. And really, you just drop the AR. So you would drop this part of the verb, right? The ending. Now, these verbs, for example, and we'll get to these in a little bit, but mirar, dibujar, llamar, llegar, regresar, practicar, trabajar, and so on and so forth, are sitting in what is known as the infinitive form. So that's infinitive, right? And so an infinitive is nothing more than an unconjugated verb. And so, like I said, when we get to this, I'll tell you what they are in English as well. But really, it's just, for example, mirar is to watch, right? And so it's in its infinitive form, which is just effectively an unconjugated form. So we're going to learn how to conjugate them today. But if you look them up in the dictionary, you'll see them in their infinitive form. So they'll be unconjugated. So today we want to learn how to conjugate them. And we're going to deal in here, right? I'll draw that so maybe it's more appealing to the eye. And so I've associated the subject pronouns with the conjugation, right? Let's do a better job of including them. And so we have over here nosotros, vosotros, and then ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Now, I know you guys are already familiar with the subject pronouns, but I thought I'd put them there just for fun. And we're going to erase this, get it out of our way. So for AR verbs, there's really two steps. You drop the AR, as I said earlier. You drop the AR, so you just drop the ending off. And then you would add the conjugation to the stem. Now, what's the stem? The stem, as I said over there, we have the infinitive. So the stem is everything except for the AR. And so we'll just take the first one on the list here, just to show you what a stem is. And so we have mirar, for example. And so our first step is to drop the AR. So we can just use the dry erase board and get rid of it, right? And so you have MIR or mir, if you really want to try to pronounce it. That's the stem, right? And so the stem, or in Espanol, is la raíz, which means the root, actually. But stem or root, we're okay with that. And so you would add these endings to the stem, right? And so we have o, as, a, amos, ais, and an, right? And so, again, let's just run through those one more time. O, as, a, amos, ais, an. And so these would be applied to the stem, and then that's effectively conjugating the verb. Now, again, as I said here, it needs to agree with the subject of the sentence. So you have subject-verb agreement. Again, something we've talked about before, but it's sort of worth mentioning, right? And so these are subject pronouns. Of course, you'll find sentences that might say Ana Maria or Raúl y Carlos, something like that, that won't necessarily use subject pronouns, but will just use subjects. Or el perro, the dog, right? And so obviously we want to make agreement with that too. And so, but of course, I and you will, those are sort of pretty standard. But anyways, we're going to have a look at this, look at some examples once we comb through the examples here. Now keep in mind, this is just a very, very short list of verbs, AR verbs. I mean, we could probably fill this whole dry erase board up with verbs if we really wanted to. But what I wanted to do more so than anything is show you just a small list of verbs just for fun, but also sort of look at, well, even if you didn't know what they meant, right? This is your very first time ever seeing some of these, you would actually know how to conjugate them because you know the mechanics. In other words, you know that you might not know that bailar means to dance, for example, which it does. It means to dance when it's in an infinitive form. But you could conjugate it for every single conjugation because you know the mechanics. And so when I say this is a regular AR verb, and we're doing a regular AR verb in the present indicative, and without even knowing what it means, you can effectively conjugate it correctly. And so that's really what we want to do today, is really understand the mechanics. Of course, as we begin to use these more, of course, your knowledge or your verb base is gonna grow, of course. And so, but that takes time. But nevertheless, if you can understand the mechanics and how these work, then really you're off to a great start. And so, if I wanted to say, for example, I dance, going back to this here, I would just take our stem, which was B-A-I-L, or bile, I guess, if you want to use that. And then we would just add, remember, we want to say I dance. So we want to say Joe. So Joe, right, bailo. Now, this is optional, as you guys know, because that's the beautiful thing about Spanish, is that the way it's conjugated most of the time will tell you what the subject is. Now, there's moments where it's ambiguous, and then we want to clarify, of course, but with Joe or tu, right, for example, those will let you know that it's I or it's you, or even with nosotros and things like that. So that's the beautiful part about Spanish as well. And so let's move and let's take a look at another one. So we have cantar. Cantar means to sing. So if we want to say you sing, for example, which you're going to see down here again, you would take the stem, C-A-N-T, and then you would add its ending. So you would add A-S to it. So it would become, and again, I'm just going to write this here for fun. Tu cantas, right? So tu cantas, right? So that means you sing. We're going to, again, just move right down here to estudiar, estudiar being to study. And let's just do we study, right? And so we would take we, right, which is nosotros, we, and we would add this ending, so it would be estudiamos, right? Nosotros estudiamos, we study. And so that's really how you do this. And you can, again, without even knowing what any of these mean, you just drop the AR and you add your appropriate conjugation, and you're conjugating the verb, right? Now, let's take a look at what they actually mean, just for fun, just so we can have it on record. Mirar means to watch, right? Like you watch a game, like a football game or a movie, like yo miro una película. Now, of course, you can use the verb ver, which is an ER verb, which we're not going to get to, which means to see or view. But as an AR verb, mirar means to watch. Dibujar means to draw. And again, just drop the AR off, and we would put yo dibujo, I draw, right? Now, dibujo as a noun, el dibujo also means a drawing. So you could say yo dibujo un dibujo if you want. So I draw a drawing, right? But as far as conjugating, again, we just drop the AR, add whatever ending it is we want to dibujar. So llamar is to call. You've seen that before with me llamo or como te llamas. Now we were using it reflexively, and we'll get to that later too, but you were already conjugating that verb without even knowing it. Llegar is to arrive. Again, just to conjugate it, we take off the AR and then you put whatever ending you want. Regresar is to return. Practicar, it's a cognate, it means to practice, right? Trabajar, to work. Manejar is to drive. It's IR synonym, if you will. I'm going to put that up here for fun. It's conducir, right? Notice that's an IR verb, so it's not on our list here, but it's a synonym. So you can say manejar or conducir, both mean to drive. Inventar, it means to invent. Again, another cognate. And for those of you who do not know what a cognate is, it's something that looks and means the same in both Spanish and English, right? And so that would be inventar, looks like invent. At least to me it does, right? And so we could throw that inside the cognate category. Again, practicar is a cognate as well. Looks like practice. Comprar means to buy. Again, coming back here to where we started. Bailar is to dance. Cantar is to sing. Estudiar is to study. And then the last one here we have montar, which is to mount or to get up on, right? And so we can use that as like montar a bicicleta, montar a caballo, to ride a horse, things like that. And so again, very much a regular AR verb. And so let's do a little practice. Right here I have 5 sentences, and I put the English and then I put the Spanish. And then of course let's fill in the blanks just so we can see what we're doing. So number 1 is I dance salsa. And so again we have the verb bailar, so we want to get rid of the AR. We have yo, so we'll come up here just because we have it here. And it looks like we put an O there, so it would be yo bailo salsa. Yo bailo salsa. Again, didn't need the yo there, but it's there for fun. So number 2, he buys the flowers. So we have él, and then we have comprar las flores. And so we have él, so here's él here, and then we have a, third person singular. So again, we drop the AR, and we add a, and I'll write it here so you can read it. El compra las flores. 3. Número 3, they arrive on time. So to arrive on time is llegar a tiempo, right? Now, notice it's a tiempo, not en tiempo. It's llegar a tiempo. So ellos and then llegar. So again, we drop that and we have ellos. So notice it's en, so we do llegan, right? I'm writing it here so it's easier to say. Número 4, we speak Spanish. Nosotros blank español. So we have hablar, so we drop the AR, right? Follow our rules, and then we add amos, right? Because we have amos there for nosotros. And so we have we speak Spanish. Nosotros hablamos español. So we speak Spanish. Nosotros hablamos español. In the last one, número 5, you sing in the car, right? And so we have cantar here. Again, we drop the AR, right? We're following our rules. We have 2, so again, we have this, and then that means we got to add AS to it. So we would do cantas, right? And again, I'll write it here for you guys. Tu cantas en el carro, right? And that's 2 R's right there. And can't tell if you can see that or not, or read it for that matter. But yeah, tu cantas en el carro. And this is, of course, a U with an accent over it. So really, in a nutshell, that is how to do regular AR verbs in the present indicative. So hopefully that was helpful.